Yes.
Yeah. Do you accept that you're living on Earth? On a planet called Earth. Alright. So, do you accept that the Holocaust happened?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so here, let's go with that last example, yeah. So, for example, the Holocaust. You're a young man. You look like you're in your 20s or 30s, yeah, maximum. So,
30s.
Maximum. No, 20s.
I don't have one grey hair, you know.
I got a lot of grey hairs. Anyway,
you're in your 30s.
Nah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You tell me I'm in my 30s.
20.
17.
Anyways, I was going to say to you that. I was going to say to you that. So let's stick with that example of the Holocaust, yeah? So you weren't there in the Holocaust.
Nope.
You didn't see it with your... So you can't employ an empirical... Because here, there are different standards of truth. So that you can say, for example, empiricism, using your 5 senses to come to conclusions of something. In the case of the Holocaust, it's not an option for you, yeah? So what is... The only option is testimony. You see what I'm saying?
Tends to be.
Yeah. So, do you accept that testimony can sometimes be...
You're talking about, okay, let me just clarify. You're talking about historical events.
Yeah.
Now, the original question is, what's my standard of evidence? And that's in a very general way. And you started with actual ongoing things like Speaker's Corner that we're at now. Now, when you go into history, obviously there's different requirements.
You think so?
Of course.
Well, okay, look, I'm not saying that.
Of course, you prove history differently than proving your own existence.
I'm not
right
saying
now.
that methodologically that historians use the same approaches as, for example, sociologists. I'm not saying that. Are you with me?
Say that again, sorry?
I'm not saying that methodologically historians use the same methodological approach as
not.
say
completely different.
as not completely different.
Okay.
To sociologists, for
mostly
example,
different,
or psychologists.
Sure.
Although sometimes you can put it under one umbrella of social sciences. Yeah. Anyways, the point being is I'm saying that if your standard of truth tends to be kind of like testimonial, in the case of, for example, say the Holocaust or your own existence, or let's say maybe not your own existence. That's not good enough. The Holocaust, or say, for example, the existence of a country you haven't been to before, that's existing today, yeah? Or something like that, or a planet you haven't seen before. These are examples of things which are testimonial. You see what I'm saying?
Of course.
So if that is your standard of truth, when it comes to theology, yeah?
If that is your standard of truth. Okay.
If it comes to theology
Big if.
and philosophy, you just said it was, right?
I never said anything about my standard
You said
of
that
truth.
the Holocaust, you believe that it happened.
Yeah, okay. but I made the clarification that to believe that things occurred historically is quite different from believing you're here now, or even or anything else.
Epistemically, I'm just saying.
Continue.
Epistemically, if someone says
like you're going somewhere with this.
Here are some pictures, here are some videos, here are some testimonials that the Holocaust happened. Here are some pictures, here are some videos, here are some testimonials that the Earth is round, for example.
Sure.
Yeah, because you believe the Earth is round, not by virtue of the fact that you were elevated into space and you saw the spherical Earth. You believe the Earth is round because you were told it was through testimony and showed through pictures and videos, right?
That's one example.
Yeah. So these are all examples of you accepting something to be a truth using testimonial evidence. I'm saying if that's your standard of truth, we can proceed to a theological discussion.
No, not yet, because it's the standard of truth in the things that you've cited. But there's many other things where that doesn't apply.
So give me an example of something which it doesn't apply to you.
Sure. History.
Okay,
like
so you don't
just
accept.
said.
So okay, with history, do you accept that Henry VIII existed?
Yes.
Okay, so you've said that.
But that's not a controversial thing. I mean, the whole point. You're going. This is the point. Yeah. You look tired already.
Today I was quite tired. I came a bit late.
So, because you're moving quite quickly from that to theology.
Okay, fair.
Now, theology is clearly controversial. You know, there's no doubt about it.
So is science, so is everything.
No, because I'm going by your examples, yeah? The existence of the Earth isn't necessarily controversial.
Tell a flat earth is that. I'm sure there's a theory.
Sure. I said necessarily. You know, these people are in the hundreds at most.
Yeah, no.
Okay, actually, they're quite a few now. There's quite a few now, yeah.
Anyway.
The existence of Henry VIII isn't necessarily controversial. I mean, come on, man. Let's be very aware of general rules. We should look at each case on its own merit. you know, the Holocaust is controversial. Maybe not its existence, but it's the degrees, you know what I'm saying? So if you're going to move quickly from that onto theology, you know, you're jumping a bit quick.
Well, it seems like you're moving into here quickly. I'm not saying you've committed it yet, but you're almost committing what's referred to sometimes by some as the democratic fallacy. Now, the democratic fallacy is when you suggest that something is true or false on the basis of those who believe it. So, for example, if you say that, okay, something is controversial and therefore it's less likely to be true, then you're attaching the truth value of that thing with what people's perception of it is.
Sure, it's a very good general rule, but like I said, see, this fallacy isn't always so enlightening, because do you believe in Henry VIII?
I believe he existed.
Okay, because it's not a very controversial thing. We both agree in Henry VIII. Now, we're both subject to the fallacy on things like, what's a good example? Giant squid. Giant squid, some scientists believe don't exist, because there's only been like 5 ever found. You know? Now, if I asked you, do you believe that giant squid exists at the bottom of the ocean floor, what would you say?
Depends on how you define giant, man. I've seen squids. Okay.
I'm going by the biological definition, which is a giant.
So am I a giant?
Anyway, look.
I don't know.
See, I knew there would be specific.
You know what, I'll tell you something, Darren. Let me tell you something funny, just to kind of bring guys to it. You know, I didn't see my dad for a long time, yeah? He went abroad and whatnot, and he came back. And he looked at me, because I'm taller than him, and he looked at me and he goes, "Are you a giant?" And I didn't know how to answer that question, right? The question is, a lot of these things depend upon definition. You see what I'm saying? So you said giant squid. What's your definition of giant? We know what a squid is. That's a different story, right? What I'm saying here generally is, what I want you to understand is that in theological discussions, we shouldn't retreat into an approach, or we shouldn't retreat into a place where we use different standards as we do in other places. So for example, in philosophy, or in general, in history or whatever, you have a certain standard of truth. You're willing to accept that Henry VIII existed. You're willing to accept that the Holocaust happened because of testimonial evidence. Yeah. If that's your approach, fine, that's fine. Now let's talk about that approach. And I haven't got a problem with that. I think that's a good approach, yeah? Because generally speaking, I haven't been to 200 countries in the world, but I know that they exist, right?
Sure.
I have confidence that they exist.
Can I just say something there? See, this is where the error occurs, I think. You go from this very specific example, like you said, there's many specific examples, and then you said generally speaking. We don't want to generally speak about these things. This is the point.
About what things?
About the standards and different definitions. We shouldn't speak generally about them. Okay. You understand? Okay. Isn't that the point that we determined?
Fine. If you're saying that, I'm saying there are general principles we can apply in life. Yeah? So I'm saying that this is a principle I'm putting in place. If you're saying, for the most part, I accept testimonial account so long as it fulfills X, Y, Z criteria.
No, because I never look. I'm really making the case for specificity here. Now,
okay, fine.
Let's say.
Can you be specific?
I'll give you a general example.
Yeah.
If you said "Das Weakest Corner" exists, I would have maybe referred to 2 requirements to say it exists. Now with other things, there are further requirements, and what was the word you used that you have to meet? Standards. You know what I mean? Not everything has the same requirement of skepticism, if that makes sense.
So tell me what...
Like I said, some things are controversial, some things aren't.
So, okay, once again, as I said...
Sorry, are we on the same page?
We are on the same page, right? If what you're saying is that, for example, it's controversial for a reason which relates to its, for example, the primary source materials in the case of history, yeah? So something like the existence of, I don't know, Cyprus the Great or something, yeah? Or whatever you want, something obscure, something which happened in the Bronze Age or something like that, where the primary source materials are not conclusive. And you said, okay, that's controversial for an academic reason. That's different to saying it's controversial for what I refer to as a democratic reason, which is kind of like, okay, people differ on this. People differ on almost everything.
I think it's the same thing.
No, I don't think it is the same thing.
Why isn't it? Why is it different for academics, for example?
Okay, so academic reasons usually cite evidences, whereas the lay people are not specialist enough to cite those evidences all the time. And it goes back to Socrates' definition of, criticism of democracy. He says that democracy is, his criticism of it was that democracy is not the be-all and end-all, because not everyone is a specialist to talk about politics. Now the same thing applies for history and science. So if, for example, me and you differ on a scientific reality, it's different to if scientists of the highest evidence differ for methodological reasons. Does that make sense?
Kind of, but I feel like we're going. The point was about, you said academic principles would be different from normal people.
No, what I'm saying is,
what did you mean by that?
Okay, let me tell you one more time. You said if something is your objection to testimonial account seems to be that if something is controversial, then the question mark ought to be put on it.
Yes.
I'm saying to you, that is a justifiable stance to have in some cases. In other cases, it's not justifiable. So if it's controversial academically, because the evidence base, whether it be primary or secondary source evidence is questionable, that's justifiable controversy, which gives you the right to put a question mark on it. But if it's controversial for popular reasons, which the lay audience might not be acquainted with, the academic realities of that particular thing, then it doesn't carry the same epistemic weight.
But they are intertwined.
They can be intertwined.
I think they often are.
They often are intertwined, but I'm not saying they always are, which is the point I'm making.
Sure, okay.
Okay, fine. So, generally now, why is this relevant to the atheist/theist debate? Because now we're living in the West, and for the most part, there is a popular culture of atheism. Now, if you look at the census in 2001, there was some 76% Christians in this country, right? In 2011, it went down to some 54 or something.
No way.
Yeah, so it went down by 20. So 20% of people left Christianity.
Crazy.
Yeah, in 10 years. So if we were to consult the general mass, the popular opinion, okay, that's going to give us a taste of what people think of atheism. Now, because we're social creatures and we're prone to secondary socialization, in the context of whatever country we're living in, we're going to absorb some of that energy, right, or some of that popular opinion. So what I'm saying is that when you're approaching subjects, sometimes you have to strip yourself of your sociological bias and start looking at things once again on their academic merit, which is why we had to make the distinction between what I refer to as a popular controversy versus an academic or otherwise evidence-based controversy. Do you see what I'm saying?
Don't you think? Okay, but the thing is, when I said they intertwine, they tend to intertwine most in the scientific, theological places. You know, because there's an academic lack of academic consensus in science, in evolution, for example, and in theology. It influences the popular.
I agree. Sometimes that can be the case.
But isn't it always the case in science and religion?
No, science and religion is not always. You can't say always. It's once again to take your words. You can't take.
Okay, sorry. My bad. A lot of the time. I mean, the reason that most evolutionary psychologists disagree with many evolutionary biologists is because of the lack of academic consensus, and that trickles down into conversations on Speaker's Corner.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and certainly it's the same in religion.
Yeah, certainly it can be the same in religion. So I'm saying, I don't think there's a point of disagreement.
Okay, but anyway, I don't even know where you're going.
The point is this, right? So long as you're talking about testimony, so that's one way of you ascertaining the truth, right? You're ascertaining something using testimonial account that meets a certain methodological criteria. That's what you call history. The study of history is based on that, actually. Primary sources. Yeah, you look at things on their merit and see how many people have affirmed these things.
I have to clarify one more thing.
Yeah.
You know how...
And basically, in a nutshell, bro, sorry, because you made the point about present versus history, yeah? History is the study of the past. Now, the conversation I had with you like 2 minutes ago, that's the past, right? Everything is history, in a sense. If you want to talk, everything is history.
I feel the need to clarify that.
However, I know generally historians in the academic world, they won't say something is history unless it's at least a decade or 2 decades.
Yeah, well, that's
right.
just...
But that's something else, right? But what I'm saying to you is, the methodological approach can sometimes be used, if not exactly the same, but in a similar way, in different conversations, like philosophical conversations and elsewhere. Like, for example, you know you're your mother's son, because your mother, the woman who brought you up, gave you a testimonial account. She told you, your name is Darren, okay, I'm your mum, you grew up in this house, but you didn't demand to see, like I'm saying, your birth certificate and to do a DNA test and to go through the actual method. Do you get me? So from that, do you have any doubt that your mum is your mum?
No, but like I said,
so testimony in that
case it's fine, yeah.
Right.
But
okay.
you made a point about history. The thing is with history, the reason you can't compare history to the study of a tree or something is because...
The study of?
the study of a tree, I don't know, or a giant squid again. Yeah, it's because it like I mean, there's deeply different.
Not really, man.
Well, let me tell you why. Because history isn't the past. History is the study of the past. You know, make that clear. And history isn't one method. I mean, you should know if you've done this, that there's many different types of historical methods, you could say. Historical materialist ways of looking at history, historicism, historiography. These are very different ways of trying to ascertain the actual events of the past. And that's why history is far more contentious than